It was a rainy evening in late October 1979. James had been driving from Lyon to Paris for a business meeting when the storm hit. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. His car's wipers screeched against the glass as lightning cracked across the French countryside. When his headlights caught a wooden sign reading, Hotel de l'Olivier, 2 kilometers, he felt relief. He'd never heard of it, but any place dry and warm would do. He followed the narrow road through endless trees until an old building appeared in the mist, a 3-story stone inn with flickering lanterns by the door. Inside, everything felt strange, but comforting. The wallpaper was faded. The air smelled of old wood and perfume. Behind the counter, an elderly man greeted him in French, writing his name into a thick leather book with a fountain pen. "One night?" "Yes, please," James said. "Do you take credit cards?" The old man smiled. "No, monsieur. Cash only." James paid in francs, took his key, an actual brass key, not the modern plastic ones, and headed to his room. Candles burned in the hallway. He thought maybe the storm had cut the power. The room was beautiful in a vintage way: lace curtains, a small oil lamp, no television, and an old rotary phone that didn't work. He fell asleep listening to the thunder outside. The next morning, the storm was gone. James went downstairs for breakfast: bread, butter, and coffee served by 2 young women in long dresses that looked straight out of an old movie. He tried to make small talk. "You must get a lot of travelers during the summer?" One of them just smiled politely and said, "Not anymore, monsieur. Not since the new road." When he checked out, the old man gave him a handwritten receipt. James folded it into his wallet and drove off toward Paris. 2 days later, he arrived at his meeting, hours late, exhausted, and annoyed that his car radio wasn't picking up any stations. But when he mentioned the Hotel de l'Olivier, his French colleagues frowned. "What hotel?" "The one between Lyon and Paris." "Old building, lanterns by the woods?" They shook their heads. "There's no hotel there, James. That road has been closed for years." James didn't believe them. So the next weekend, he drove back the same route. He recognized the bend in the road, the wooden sign, even the same oak trees. But where the hotel had been, there was nothing. Just an empty field and a few stones half buried in the dirt. Confused, he stopped in a nearby village and showed people the receipt he had been given. An old man behind the bar went pale. "Hotel de l'Olivier?" he whispered. "That place burned down in 1905. My grandfather told me about it. Everyone inside died." James laughed nervously. "That's impossible. I stayed there last week." The bartender looked at him for a long time before saying, "Then you must have stayed somewhere else." When James returned to London, he couldn't shake what happened. He still had the receipt, written in perfect ink on yellowed paper, dated October 21, 1905. Experts examined it and confirmed the paper was over 70 years old. The ink, the handwriting, even the hotel stamp matched historical records of the burned-in. James was stunned. He had no memory loss, no mental illness, no drugs in his system. Yet he'd spent a night in a hotel that had been gone for generations. The British Society for Psychical Research investigated his case. Their conclusion: time slip phenomenon, unexplainable anomaly. In simple terms, it was as if James had accidentally driven into a piece of the past. In 1981, 2 years later, James tried to return again, determined to prove it. He followed the same road, at the same hour of night, under a stormy sky. But this time, there was no sign, no mist, no glow of lanterns. Just blackness and empty land. As he turned around to leave, he noticed something in his rearview mirror. For a split second, the reflection showed the hotel's doorway lit by candlelight. and a small figure standing there, waving goodbye. James kept the receipt all his life. He even showed it in interviews, though some called him a liar. But handwriting experts confirmed again and again, it was genuine. When he died in 2003, his daughter found something tucked inside his journal, a note written in shaky penmanship that read, "If I ever disappear again, don't look for me. I'll be at the hotel." Strangely, his story wasn't unique. Dozens of travelers in France and England have reported similar time slip incidents, stepping into moments from decades or centuries before, then returning to find days or even weeks have passed. In 1979, the same year as James's experience, two British couples claimed they stayed in an old inn in France with oil lamps, wooden beds, and a strange silence, only to discover the next morning that no such hotel existed anymore. No one can explain it, not scientists, not historians, not even quantum physicists. But some believe there are places in this world where time folds, where the past and present overlap just enough for a person to slip through. And if that's true, then maybe the past never really goes away. Maybe it's still waiting. Behind a door we can't see. Down a road we shouldn't take. So next time you're driving alone on a rainy night, and you see an old sign pointing toward a hotel you've never heard of, think twice before following it. Because if you do, you might wake up in a world that doesn't exist anymore. If mysteries like this make you question reality, then like and subscribe to True Mystery Vault. Every story here is based on real events, and the next one might just happen to you.